from your experience, tell me, how would you evaluate an AI investment before actually greenlighting it? I've read that your mantra is meaningful use of information, not just technology for its own sake, right? Treating AI as an enterprise capability, as a system, and actually you can use that in practice. So what is your way to evaluate any AI investment before you actually say that, okay, let's go ahead and start build it?
So this is very close to my heart, the question you just asked. This is my dissertation topic as well.
Okay.
So about the AI readiness, what are the risks and the success factors that the company face as they do the AI readiness assessment in order to harness the power of AI, right? So, a prudent way of looking into it is in terms of the capabilities. So what business capabilities you are delivering today, at what maturity level, and then looking into what technology dependencies, be it infrastructure, be it data, be it architecture, be it design, API, information security, all these things taken together, which are data privacy and security, not to forget that, right? Very important in this space as well. That is how these capabilities help in making sure that the investments that we are making, how they would integrate in a way that it's a well-composed solution. So in order to do that, like you start building a house, you start with the foundation, then you build the ground floor, then the first floor, then the second floor, not the other way around, right? So I think it's important to build the foundation there first, because that forms as a strong pillar based on which further scale out would happen as your business grows. And
I
again, as you,
yeah,
yeah, sorry.
no, I completely agree that we need to have a foundation layer because you're going to put things on top of it. But how about the companies, those who have already got legacy of traditional data, multiple systems, fragmented data, how they can really get started? This theory seems to be simpler when any startup is coming up, when they have nothing or maybe minimum amount of data, they can get the foundation much faster and take it ahead from there. But in case of regulated industries, right? If you talk about healthcare or life sciences or even finance, how they can really get started? A couple of best practices would really help.
Sure, sure. So this is a very valid burning question, as you just said. There is a very recent McKinsey paper which talks about this. That is, what kind of strategy companies can take.
Yeah.
So they talk about the similar line that in the established companies, existing companies, again, you can tie Clayton's theory of innovator's dilemma and also McKinsey's recent paper on this as well. They're very well aligned in a way that for large organizations, they just cannot go through over changing everything overnight, which
Right.
would be huge funding disruption. So they have no other option but to take an incremental approach, incremental test and learn. So the sunk cost, which is there in legacy systems. So that's what we did a few years ago when we went on digital, right? If you look into the pattern is very similar. That when we started with digital, there were batch mode of operation between systems, digital report 24 by 7 operations, event-driven architecture. So what we did was we built web services front end in front of the legacy systems. So there were COBOL systems in the back end, Click systems. So we built a web services layer using K2E or .NET. And then we were able to build event-based architecture by which we'd use queues, JMS queues, or events in order to do a sort of a real time, give a illusion of real time usage to the customers, although the backend systems were still operating on the batch mode. So I think that adaptation, that facade, is what we would see in this case as well, but it would go beyond the business logic to the data layer, right? That is, we'll be able to put some additional, I would say, massaging on the data, capabilities on the data through a robust data governance process, data quality process, by which we can improve the quality of the information, which is key for the machines or as we go for automation as much as we can. That is looking into the real-time data or the fidelity of the data, the data quality factors, dimensions that I'm trying to mention, that those things can be done in addition to the sources. So it puts I would say, force or additional weightage on the warehouses or or integrated data virtualization, newer concepts as they are emerging. With new infrastructure, they are becoming more and more realizable. So there is some additional processing that can be done in data hubs or data virtualization, which would keep the backend investments as is, and an incremental investment, not an overall, but an incremental investment would let us focus on getting the data into that central repository, into the lake house architecture, which is evolving, and there are a lot of new capabilities coming with Apache Iceberg, open table formats, by which you can take advantage of the low cost cloud storage, cloud compute versus premium multiprocessing SMP architecture. So there is a cost benefits deflationary advantage that's coming with this. Companies can take advantage of it and put a strong data quality data governance, which possibly in many cases were ignored in the past, but now there's no choice. You really have to build that in and make data higher quality and easily, as I said earlier, as you said, very rightly pointed out, meaningful use of information. We're not talking about data anymore. We're
Yeah.
talking about information. Then we'll talk about knowledge, and then we'll talk about wisdom.
All of a sudden, from couple of years, data has become so important. Previously, it used to be a kind of a boring topic. It was not fashionable at all. Before, humans were the integration layer. People just prepared over the bad data. They used to rekey, reconcile, spreadsheet, apply judgment wherever it was disagreed. And now, since the paper is gone, AI is doing all of these. Things are getting exposed now. The weaknesses are getting more and more exposed. You have helped organizations in technical debt reduction and simplification. So give me a real moment where AI exposed a weakness nobody was really interested in knowing, but you took it out and got that moment alive. If you
See,
have any example.
I can give a few examples. So, as much as we say that we have manual processes, right?
Yeah.
It is taken in a negative connotation, right? A company we're doing manually, people are doing things manually. Of course,
Mm,
there is cost, there is a scale issue with that, seasonal issues with that, but it is mind-boggling that how much a human being can do, use their
mm,
human intelligence, and they can fill in the gaps. They can use their experience. They can use their in order to fix a lot of issues. It takes time. It comes at a cost, but they can get a lot of things done. Now, when we talk about machines, now we are talking about the minimal involvement of the human being. So
mm,
we are expecting everything to be done on the happy path, right? Everything should be done deterministically as they're done. So now more effort has to be put in order to make sure that the data quality is up to the maxed out. Schema drift, which is a very important thing that happens, that is when a database is created over time, there is a drift that happens, and unless you have a proper metadata management capability built in, those things rely on humans to use manual processes to check and balance that, which goes back and forth between the technology, the data stewards or data engineers with the business users, with the operators. And those things take time. So now we're getting the benefit of doing things faster, doing things quicker. But what that requires is that the the data, underlying data to be pristine, to be properly qualified. And if you look into the newer capabilities which are coming along in terms of ontology, in terms of knowledge graph, so the RAG, which is usually used as retrieval augmentation generation, which extracts data from standard databases. Now,
mm,
in the case of knowledge graph, in terms of this, now we talk about multiple additional capabilities in terms of nodes, edges, and the triple objects, right? Subject, predicate. So we're putting in context. A simple example, let's take a very simple example without getting into the complexity. That if I tell you that I crashed a car, and I also tell you that I crashed a party, you can understand the difference between the two, because you can crash a party, you can crash a car, but to a machine, that's not intuition. That's not something they can have intuition around it. So I just give a very simple example. Now think in terms of multiple data elements, data lineage issues, then the sources, defining them differently. A lot of effort has to be put in order to understand the ontology and the lineage of the data through processes which the companies could have lived without over the past. But now
mm,
it is exposing, as you rightly said. That is, it's not enough to store data and retrieve data through primitives. Now it's about making sure that we build some rigor and robustness around it, so that all the data that we ingest, we should be able to be prepared to go to higher level of complexity, higher level of redundancy, and make them more sustainable in terms of scale out, in terms of the different usage.
What does AI ready actually mean when the end user is a clinician in the field, uh, not actually any analyst at the desk? What do you think should be change first?
So I would say again, it starts with Lean. I will go by the one theory, which is of the Lean Six Sigma, which starts with the customer, how it
Hmm.
is going to be used, not how it's going to be produced by the technology, but how it's going to be used by the user. Right? Now, very soon, we'll possibly need to have another variant of that, which is not a human user,
Hmm.
but an agent, right? Or a hierarchy of agents, if you will, right? So that's a different conversation. So let's assume in a very simple case that you start with the user. The experience of the user is extremely important. Typically, when we talk about agentic AI, we talk about a goal or a plan or an objective, then certain resources, rules, and some guardrails, right? So what is the limiting factor within which the agent would be able to work? And if it goes beyond that, the agent would call it out as something beyond its scope, and it will not hallucinate or give improper guidance to the user, which is very
Hmm.
important in a regulated industry, right?
Yeah.
So guardrails is as important as the response or the action. So let's assume that all those things are taken care of, right? You do a proper design, you start with the user, you make sure that you understand and capture the
Hmm.
user's needs very elegantly, right? Listening has to be there, empathy has to be there, proper understanding of what the user was doing before, and now you're taking the analyst out and you're putting an agent over there, or a clinician in the field with not having adequate support staff to support them or walk them through if there are any unhappy paths, right? So that's where the proper thinking, design thinking, comes along. So that's where you start with brainstorming. And typically, as we build systems, so the journeys have to be understood. So all the capabilities that we had with agile development, with customer-centric design, in terms of human-centric design, in terms of customer journey mapping, all those things are there. We need to go through all those things, right? So they are not disappearing. They're not going away. The design aspects don't go away. That so it is I would say it is a more defined understanding of creating real definitions and then building the design in a way that it would work and it would not be brittle. So I think in many cases, as you mentioned, with fragmented single tools doing different things,
Hmm.
brittleness is a very important thing, that an unwanted thing that we come across when you want to make updates. Adequate testing has to be done. So
Hmm.
if we build it in a way which is seamless, try to have an orchestration layer, try to
Hmm.
make sure that all the privacy and security is not an afterthought, but they're embedded into the design. Architecture is there in all the layers, infrastructure, integration, data, all those factors have been put in. It is just we're just doing the right due diligence and being disciplined in our design, in our deployment, in our planning, and so on and so forth. So all the things which we should be doing, I think they are reinforced in this case that we have definitely a need for doing that.
Many decades, enterprises have invested billions of dollars in building system of records, ERP, CRM, EHRs, data warehouses, designed to capture transactions with precision. So now AI is asking those same systems, like how you mentioned, nobody is telling you to replace those systems, but AI is asking those systems to reason, explain, recommend, or even take decisions. That is the difference in the job now, right? As per you, what are the architectural changes that are evolving in this age of AI?
So let me give the answer through a context of what we faced, say, a few years ago, around 8 or
Hmm.
10 years ago. So if you think about it, our data centers, our mainframes, they were all built for one purpose, to do transactions.
Hmm.
They never thought of the user experience, right? They were built with robustness, security, and reliability in mind. So then we went into the era of digital, where we went directly to the customers and we had experience, customer experience, as and 24 by 7 operations as an imperative, right? So with that, we realized that it may not be possible or may not be cost effective to build those capabilities into the old legacy systems. Rather, build systems of engagement which would focus on the properties of maximizing customer experience, which would by nature be nimble, be agile, and we would be needing to make multiple changes to them based on the seasonality of the business, right? Or business evolution that would happen. So an approach that we had used in this case was that keep the backend systems as is, the investments, in many cases sunk cost, keep them as is, and then build a facade, as I mentioned earlier, build an integration there, and then build applications, mobile applications, for example, which give a very good look and feel, very good experience, and of course, without compromising on security, using APIs. APIs became more powerful or more popular than batch mode data operations. So we saw an ecosystem being built out, or ancillary capabilities being built out. I would suppose that the same thing would happen in this case as well. That is, you would have intelligence. It will be sort of phased approach in embedding intelligence into the backend systems versus starting with the front end systems. So that's where they would start first, but slowly and slowly they will make their way into the back end as well. That's a journey, that's an evolution that we would see. It may not be a revolution to begin with. That's where with maturity, with testing out, with reaching the plateau of productivity, that's where we will see more and more of innovation happening, beginning with the front end and then slowly making way to the back end as well. So that's something which we have seen multiple times in the past. It is the pendulum swinging from one end to the other, right? So that is something which the proverbial thing that we would possibly see in this case as well. That is, we would be seeing that it will start small and then it will permeate into the other parts of the architecture as well.